Greetings and welcome. This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, the not-so-sexy podcast, episode 85. Welcome. Glad you made it. Welcome to 2026. I'm Jeff Edwards, your host for Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. Well, hope your holidays were good and you didn't have too much stress, especially with your loved one. You know, one of the things that keeps popping up in my vocabulary, and of course in my life, is hope. Not the woman named Hope, but hope. What is it? Well, there are a few ways to look at it. When you get that gut punch diagnosis, you instinctively get the feeling of hopelessness. No hope. Medical science and psychology advocate strongly for the power of hope, the positive belief and expectation that a remedy or solution is going to manifest in a season of despair. Losing hope has been shown to eventually have negative consequences on health and well-being. You know, it may come as a surprise that in the Bible, a book about faith and positive expectations, the phrase "no hope" appears. When writing to the Ephesians, Paul said they had no hope in the world, not some hope, not a little hope, but no hope. So today we're going to talk about hope, and I believe there can be and should be hope. We're going to discuss the current therapies for dementia as of December 2025. There are a lot of things happening in finding help for Alzheimer's and dementia. And then we're going to talk with an old friend of mine who has more parts than a chicken nugget. You heard right, more parts than a chicken nugget. We've spoken with him before in one of our early shows. He has just released a new book with that title, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. He's a man who has gone through many struggles his whole life, but he continues to fight. And this is where I'm going to pause. And he continues to keep a positive, hopeful approach to life. No, woe is me or why me, Lord. His book is very well written and full of optimism. And of course, hope cover to cover. You'll shed some tears, but you'll laugh yourself silly with some of his experiences. And I couldn't think of a better way to kick off 2026 than to share what real hope is. You might think with what you're going through, there is no hope. The end is near. But let's help change that outlook to give you something to be positive about, to grab and take hold of hope. Greetings to our sponsor, Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care. We'll talk a little bit more about them in just a bit. You know, this wouldn't be Gut Punched if we didn't go over our tenets or rules. We mention them every week. They don't change. But the more you hear them, hopefully, the more you'll remember them. The tenets we follow are very simple. 1, you must take care of yourself, because if something happens to you, who's going to take care of your loved one? 2, you can't do it alone. You need help. Find a good caregiver group or network with friends and relatives. Number 3, make a list of people, friends, relatives, co-workers who have offered to help you in time of need. And then make a list of things you need done but can't do yourself because caregiving duties are overwhelming. Use the lists. Start at the top and keep going till you get what you need done. You're going to find it very helpful. Number 4, create a help signal. Identify a cue or phrase to confirm your loved one is comfortable with receiving help. Now, this is for when you have caregivers outside of family helping with caregiving duties. And number 5, caregiving, love it or hate it, it will be your life till it's not. Give it your all. You know, the podcast is growing in leaps and bounds, and we thank you very much for that. Can you help us grow even more? If you would, please, share this podcast with others. Maybe you know someone who has a family member or friends who are dealing with a loved one who has Alzheimer's or any type of dementia. You can just send them the link or send them to gutpunch.com. Help them help themselves and others. Maybe they need the information or resources. Let them know they're not alone. There is help and hope out there for everyone. If you'd like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. It's easy. Just push the subscribe button. It's time to begin. Let's get to it. Here comes hope.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Now we're going to look at current therapies for dementia as of December 2025. Dementia is not a single disease, but a syndrome caused by various conditions, with Alzheimer's disease accounting for 60 to 70% of the cases. Other common types include vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal dementia, and mixed forms. There is no cure, but therapies can manage symptoms, slow progression in some cases, and improve quality of life. Treatments vary by dementia type and stage. Pharmacological therapies. Now, these are divided into symptomatic treatments, which means temporary relief of cognitive and behavioral symptoms, and disease-modifying treatments targeting underlying biology, mainly for early Alzheimer's. Now, symptomatic treatments used across multiple dementia types. Cholinesterase inhibitors, example, donzepam, Aricept, rivastigmine, and Exelon, galantamine, and Razidine, benzgalantamine, improve communication between brain cells by boosting acetylcholine levels, effective for mild to moderate Alzheimer's, Lewy bodies dementia, Parkinson's disease dementia, and mixed dementia. Donzepam is approved for all stages of Alzheimer's. Memantine, Namenda, regulates glutamate activity, used for moderate to severe Alzheimer's and sometimes other types. For behavioral symptoms, for example, agitation, brexpiprazole is an FDA approved specifically for agitation in Alzheimer's dementia. Disease-modifying treatments, primarily for early-stage Alzheimer's with confirmed amyloid plaques. Lecanemab, or Leqembi, FDA-approved anti-amyloid antibody infusion, slows cognitive decline by 27 to 35% in early Alzheimer's, which is mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia. Now, recent updates include once every 4 weeks maintenance dosing that was approved January 25, and options for easier administration. Donanemab, or Kisunla, FDA-approved anti-amyloid antibody infusion, which is monthly, shows decline by 30 to 60% in early stages. Treatments can potentially stop once plaques are cleared. These are the first therapies to alter Alzheimer's progression by removing amyloid plaques, offering more independent living time. They require biomarker confirmation, for example, PET scan or blood test, and monitoring for side effects like brain swelling and bleeding area. For non-Alzheimer's dementias, example, vascular, frontal temporal, no approved disease-modifying drugs. Focus is on managing risk factors, for example, blood pressure control for vascular dementia and symptomatic relief. Non-pharmacological therapies. These are essential for all dementia types, often first line, and can complement drugs. Evidence supports improvements in cognition, mood, behavior, and daily functioning. Then there's cognitive therapies. Cognitive stimulation therapy, CST, group activities to engage thinking and social interaction, improves cognition and quality of life. And cognitive training, computerized programs, mixed results but some benefit memory and function. Reminiscence therapy, discussing past experiences, reduces depression and agitation. Then we have physical and lifestyle interventions. Exercise, like aerobic, strength training, slows cognitive decline, improves mood and blood flow. Multi-domain approaches, example, diet, exercise, social engagement. Studies like FINGER show risk reduction and cognitive benefits. Sensory and creative therapies. Music therapy reduces agitation and improves mood. For example, personalized playlist. Art therapy, aromatherapy, pet therapy help with relaxation and emotional well-being. And other physical therapies, for example, photobiomodulation, transcranial stimulation, emerging evidence for cognitive benefits, and caregiver support and environmental modifications, crucial for safety and reducing behavioral symptoms. Now, emergent advancements like blood tests for easier Alzheimer's diagnosis, for example, p-tau217, A-B ratio, FDA cleared 2025. Research into vascular mechanisms, Example, restoring brain blood flow via lipids like PIP2. And that was December 2025 study. And new targets, tau, and inflammation. There are over 140 drugs in trials, potential for broader treatment soon. Now, early diagnosis is key for maximizing benefits, especially from disease-modifying drugs. Consult a specialist for personalized options, as effectiveness varies by individual and dementia type. Sources include Alzheimer's Association, FDA updates, Mayo Clinic, and recent studies, 2025. A lot of things out there, a lot of things on the horizon. You got to keep your hope up.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
We've been talking about Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care, a national award-winning company. Why? Because you need to know about them. If you have a loved one who has Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, or something equally demanding, and if you're at the point of needing help because you're overwhelmed or you're just in over your head, so to speak, know this: Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care is here to help you. Service is their passion. Excellence is their promise. They are Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's care specialist. You can find them on the web at hbmhomecare.com, or you can call them at area code 239-603-6455. And you'll find a link for them on our website, gutpunch.com. So don't get overstressed. Reach out to Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care. Do it today. hbmhomecare.com.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Here on Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, we often speak about how tough it is to be a caregiver, what we go through, what our loved ones go through. You can't do it alone. You need help. We look for hope anywhere we can find it. A cure, a reversal of the symptoms, a magic bullet. The doctor was wrong. This is just a bad dream. It's a nightmare. We must try and stay positive. And Lord knows it's not easy. What does hope have to do with what our caregivers go through? Keep listening. As the year 2026 is upon us and our struggles are still ahead of us, I'm hopeful that what you'll hear today will perhaps inspire you to try and look at or approach your journey with a bit of a different attitude. Now, our guest is someone we've spoken with before, and I've known him for years. He's a survivor. And although he's not a caregiver and his loved one doesn't have Alzheimer's or any other form of dementia, his story is powerful. It's funny, but more than anything else, it's full of hope. 4 little letters that are so important. The book is called More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. It's a story of survival, second chances, and the family that held him together. B.J. Odom has lived a life that doctors said would be cut short, but instead he turned it into a comedy. From farm fields to radio studios, hospital beds to comedy stages, B.J. has learned to survive with grit, grace, and a whole lot of duct tape humor. This isn't a sob story. It's a celebration of second chances, family, laughter, and the kind of resilience that shows up when you least expect it. If you've ever faced hard times, and who hasn't, this book will remind you that sometimes the best medicine really is a good laugh and a positive attitude, and it all ends up in hope. Greetings, BJ. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty decent. I feel pretty good. I just got done with 30 treatments of radiation, so, right now I'm feeling great because I got no appointments for the next month and a half, and hopefully it'll stay that way, and I can stay smiling.
Stay smiling. Now, your ear is glowing like a star, is it not, with the radiation?
Pretty much, yeah. I've been called Rudolph the red-eared reindeer lately.
I like that. Everything's good now with it?
Well, I go back in a month, and the oncologist looks at it. But what it was skin cancer that they'd operated on twice. And so when I went back and they found some more still in there, the doctor just basically said, I'm going to have to either take most of the year off or we can try radiation. I said, well, I wear glasses now and again, so let's go for the radiation.
Yeah. It'd be slipping. Put the glasses on, they slide down your face. Radiation, it's not like chemo, but you feel it at the end. At least I did in mine. When I got to, 35 and I got 10 more to go, that's when I started getting tired. But, you get through it. It's better, like I said, better than chemo, and better, like you said, you still have an ear and you can wear glasses.
Yeah, so I'm happy. And, like I said, though, it's pretty daggone red, and it's got a few little scabs on it, not to be gross. But hopefully here in the next few weeks, it'll all heal up. And if what the doctor says is true, it'll look pretty good in the next month.
Good. Because, it's a good thing you didn't lose your ear, because you wouldn't be able to sing Christmas carols like, do you hear what I hear? And you go, no, I can't hear. So your book, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. Who thought up that title?
Well, I was doing comedy for a long time, and I had a heart transplant back in 2003, had a kidney transplant in 2015, and I was always told, your opening joke should be something that the audience can learn about you. And so I just finally one time said, hey, I had a heart transplant in 2003, kidney transplant 2015. I got more parts than a chicken nugget. And it would always get, a big laugh. That was basically my opening line for 60 minutes of comedy. And so I said, if I ever write a book, that's what I'm going to name it, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget.
Okay, so that leads to, how did writing a book about your life come about? What started that?
Yeah, I will tell you, because, people that have heard my story have all said the same thing. You need to write a book. And I bet if I had $1 for every person that told me I needed to write a book about my life and my medical journey, I would probably be a millionaire. Mm-hmm. So I just finally ran into a co-author. I mean, that's all she pretty much does for a living. She writes books. She writes manuals for corporations. She's a writer. She gave a sliver of her liver to her sister, her half-sister, and I had her on my show, Gift of Life, the organ transplant podcast. And she told me that story. And of course, during the story, I learned she was an author and wrote, many books. And I said, people tell me that I should write a book. And I told her a little bit about my life and my medical journey. She goes, I think that would make a great book. And so we partnered up, and thus the book was almost 9 months in the making, almost like a little baby. But I would feed her stories every week, and I just basically told her about my life, and she would interview me. And after about 6 months of that, she started putting the pages together. And so probably the actual writing of the book probably took her about 3 months. And so I want to say, a big hello and thank you to my co-author, because she's a great person, and that is Christina Metcalf.
All right, some big questions. I told you I didn't have a lot of questions. Why did you write this book, and why now?
Well, of course, with having 2 organ transplants, I wanted to get out the word how important organ transplants are. But also, every time I've been going to the hospital since I was 22 months old. And of course, the book explains that. Had my first open heart surgery at 22 months old. Had an experimental surgery, which was new to everyone, including the doctors that performed it in 1968. In fact, before that, they told my parents that I would probably never live to see my mid-teens. And so I was the oldest living person to receive this surgery. And now most of them, get it right out of the womb. As soon as you're born, this surgery takes place. And of course, it's gotten better over the years. But basically, I never knew that I wasn't supposed to live to see my mid-teens. But my parents were. And I can only imagine how rough that had to be on them. But like I said, I was the oldest living to have this surgery. All the other little boys and girls before me had passed away, and I was 13 years old when I had the surgery, transposition of the great arteries. And I don't know, my parents were very positive, and I think they've taught me to be positive. And, I've had a lot of bumps along the way, but whenever I do go into the hospital, I'm not the woe is me, or I'm not yelling at the nurses like, why is this happening to me? Don't you come in here, don't touch me. I turned the bed into a comedy stage, basically. And I've tried to smile, I've tried to laugh, and tried to go with a positive attitude my entire life with all my medical journeys.
Yeah, you've been through a lot, and you've got a history now you could share, and you do that with your podcast also. Your podcast,
right?
Now,
well, Gift of Life, the organ transplant podcast. Yes.
Okay, goes back to why now? Why are you writing a book at this stage of your life?
I probably would have never ran into Christina. I probably still wouldn't do this. I mean, it was one of those things we talked about several times. It never came to be. So I met Christina. I talked about it. She's a big believer in organ donation. And she goes, you've got a great story and it needs to be shared. That's when, said, okay, let's do this together. And we made, it's a deal. It's, like anything else. I paid her so much to write it, and she gets a percentage, for every book that is sold also. So it's just it's a great relationship. And in fact, she would always say to me, BJ, does this book sound like you? And I'm going, no, because you're writing much more intelligent than I ever would. Yeah, she's the one that did those big syllable words that I would have never done.
Gotcha. I have to say,
I was just going to say, though, but people I know have come to me and said, oh, man, this book is written so well, and it's so you. And so she pulled off what she wanted to do, because she said, I want this book to sound like you. And I have cousins, I have my sister-in-law. They all tell me, boy, this book is you.
It is. It is. And I've known you for a lot of years, and some of your experience in the background. I enjoyed some, especially the radio part, because I was trying to figure out, well, who was doing what at this time and who was the culprit behind this. I got involved in it. And it's different when you read a biography from somebody who's rich and famous, or a movie star or a musician or a politician. This was an easy book to read. I thought it was very well written, but I was able to knock it off in 5 days, a little bit each day. And it gels. And even though I would stop, I was able to pick it up right where I left off. And it made sense. It was your whole story from the time that you were young and the time now that you're old. It's, again, very well written. And one of the things that I got from it, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you, was because there's so much hope in the book. And in my experience with what I deal with the Alzheimer's and caregivers things, there's not a lot of hope. And I will talk about hope. You got to have it. And people go, well, yeah, you don't know, because the experiences are different. And they're different for everybody. I get that. But this, given what you've been through, you went against all odds. And here you are at 22 months and to late 60s. Are you 68, 69? I can't remember. You just had a birthday not that long ago.
I'm 70 now. And that's what's really funny. When we started the book,
70, yeah.
It was supposed to be like, I was never supposed to live to 1969. But here I am, 69, trying to find my EV keys for my electric vehicle and make it to the early bird special.
There you go.
But then by the time the book came out, I was 70. So we kind of had to change that angle a little bit. But that's what, was the original thought when we first started writing the book.
Yeah, and you went through things that they didn't think you probably could get through. Like you said early on, that they were kind of practicing and learning how to do this operation, and they've gotten better at it with technology and the like. Yeah, you've defeated all odds. Well, you're not going to get out of your teens, but you showed them differently. And in the book, the stories that you tell make sense, because you always seem to be smiling. You always seem to be striving to get ahead and doing the best you can. And that's part of what individuals need to drive. I'd say, well, there is no hope. There is no hope. Well, yeah, there is hope. You're a walking example of a hopeful person, because look where you are from where you came from. And that's hard to find. It really is, especially in today's society.
Well, if I can, and we talked about my organ donation podcast, The Gift of Life. I went through a segment. This was what's really funny, because, first I'll go with lungs, and now it seems like all of a sudden I have a bunch of livers, and then I have a bunch of hearts that call me. They kind of come in spurts, and they're all like the same organ. Well, I went through part of this while writing the book that I was getting mothers, pediatric mothers, with young children that were battling and needing organs like hearts and lungs and things like that. And I broke down in one of my podcasts and I told a mother, I go, there's always tomorrow and we don't know what medical science is going to do tomorrow. So what I may have died from in 1968, there was a surgery that came along and it kept me alive. I would have probably died, like in my 50s. But then I got this heart transplant because heart transplantation came along. I was telling these mothers, but I said, you never know what tomorrow is going to bring in the medical science world. And that is so true because it seems like every step of my journey has been, okay, well, now we've got this. Now we've got this. Now we've got this. And even when I'm feeling bad, I go, you know what? They might have something next week to perk me up again and get me going. And that's just always in the back of my mind.
And that's a good thing. And that keeps you going, keeps you taking step after step after step. For caregivers who have somebody who they're taking care of, whatever the disease, you have to keep a positive attitude. It's not easy. There's no way it's easy. But if you can take the same look at it the way you did, hey, tomorrow may be something different. They might discover this. They might discover that. They'll create this. They'll do that. That's a reason for hope. And keeps you going.
I would say never give up till the curtain's closed. And my curtain is still open. So I'm not going to give up.
And then what are you going to do for an encore?
Well, it was really funny because right after the book came out, I had to get an ablation, had some weird things going on in my heart. And then I had to get this radiation. I said, my God, book number 2 is writing itself, and I was not wanting another book.
What would you like the listeners to know about the book? What's the message?
The message, like you said, I think is hope, and I think it's never give up. And when the doctor says something, yes, he knows probably more than you do, but, he doesn't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And you said something very important. Even with transplantation, even with the heart problems I had as a child, everybody's body is different. I know people that had heart transplants and didn't make it a year. I know people that had heart transplants and made it 5 years. And here I am now, 22, soon to be 23 years out. And just a few days ago, I talked to a young lady that is now 38 years out on her heart transplant. So No two people are ever the same. And no two people will ever go through a transplant, Alzheimer's disease, or anything the same.
Right. And you got to touch on what I was going to ask you about in Where Are We Now section. I like the line, never give up. Miracles do happen. Yeah, doctors can only tell you what's likely to happen, not what will happen to you. I found that extremely hopeful. And everybody's journey is their own, each bit different in its own way. So stay positive. No matter what you're going through, sometimes you think that it's the end of the world, but it may not be.
I will tell you this, as doing a podcast about organ transplantation, and I've learned this from other patients that seem to be doing well. They've all went in with a positive attitude. They've all stayed positive, haven't let themselves, you get days where you just feel like you're at the bottom of the barrel and it's just nothing's going right. But then you have the other days where it's going good. And we all kind of agreed that we believe that we made it through the transplants and we made it, to where we are today because we kept it positive. We didn't go in a negative direction. We didn't go, woe is me, why me? We said, hey, I'm going to kick this in the butt, and basically kept that positive attitude. We'll all agree that that positive attitude is what made it all possible to get to where we were in our journeys at the time.
Right. Last night I had to locate your book. Couldn't find it the first go around. I went second go around. I got stacks of books all over the place, and I'm going, where the heck is this book? And I found it on my third try. And when I finally located it, I opened it up to the chapters list to kind of refresh. And it just hit me that all the chapters are titles of songs in the past. And I thought it was a pretty good idea. Who came up with that? Was that you?
It's really funny because, as we were putting the book together and Christine, would write the chapters, once in a while she'd have a name of a chapter and a couple of them was songs. I go, these are song titles, and there was many that were not. And then I go, what would be really cool since, I was a guy in radio for all those years. And the book even, talks about me being in radio. How about we name every chapter after a book?
I mean, after
That's where it was born, really. There was like 2 or 3 chapters in the beginning.
Gotcha.
That were named after songs. And I go, whoa, let's just do every chapter and name it after a song.
I like it. And each title song made sense for what you were talking about at the time.
Like the very first chapter, I was born in a small town with not even one traffic light. Family was farmers, so we were country boys, So the very first chapter, Country Boy Can't Survive by Hank Williams Jr.
No traffic light. Man, that's small. That's small.
Yeah, it was. And then, like I said, and it's in the book, my local doctor or, my local doctor, because, back then you had one doctor in town.
Right.
And he said, this is above my pay grade. You really need to get him to a bigger hospital and, to probably a children's specialist. And that's where I ended up going to Chicago. And, it was called Wesley Memorial, where I had my surgery in children's hospital, but now it's all under Northwestern Hospital.
There you go. Now, where can the listeners get the book?
It's available on Amazon, easy find. Just look it up, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, and it'll pop up. Also, there's a lot of T-shirts with chicken nuggets on it and some toys with chicken nuggets, but you want the book, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, and it's available on Amazon, and it's selling great.
Good.
We have 22 5-star reviews as of today.
Wow. Easy read. I keep saying it's an easy read, and it was fun. It really was. Yeah. A website for it yet, or are you just doing it through
same thing? Yeah, the website, morepartsthanachickenNugget.com. We've got that website. We've got a Facebook page. Like I said, being all those years like you in radio, I know how to promote. I don't know if I'm promoting it right or not, but I'm definitely doing a lot of promotion on the book and doing a lot of interviews. And
what's next for you? You got a lot on your plate, but what do you see going down the road? You're going to go back on tour with comedy? You're going to get back into radio?
I think probably podcasting world with the 2 podcasts that I do, BJ and Bill, the podcast, and Gift of Life, the organ donation podcast. I think those are keeping me busy enough. And really after the new year, I'm really going to concentrate on talking to more people like you, doing podcasts and doing radio shows. I'm also going to look for because I'm self-published. We did this, all on our own. Going to work on an agent and maybe be able to get this book published, from a regular publisher. And I know that'll give me a big lift because my goal is for more people to read it. But I think the story behind it is so strong and so meaningful that it can help a lot of people, and that's the goal.
I think you're dead on for that. I think that's the way to go with it.
And as we go into the holidays, we always, make our New Year's resolution, and I will make the same resolution I've probably made for the last 20 years. I just want to live another year.
There you go. Well, I got to tell you, it's been a privilege and an honor to talk with you today. Keep the wheels rolling, and God bless you.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Repeat after me. Apple, table, penny.
Apple, red.
When you tell people he has Alzheimer's, but he's in a clinical study, it's
not so hopeless.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's like, I hope we can just hang in there and maybe they'll find something,
Ask me again.
What season is it?
It's when all the leaves down and
I know it's there, but I can't get it.
Yeah.
And it just kills me.
I remember watching Dad interact with the kids and thinking, geez, in 5, 6 years, will he even know who they are? 1 in 10 Americans over 65 has Alzheimer's disease. Learn more today at brightfocus.org.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
We are very excited to bring on board the Neuropsychiatric Research Center as our miracle sponsor. They are a phenomenal company with a great staff and lots of medical and research experience. Next time, we'll be doing an interview with one of their doctors, and he will be answering some of the questions you, the listeners, have sent in. If you have a question you'd like to ask a doctor, feel free to send them to us. It's easy. Send them to gutpunchedac@outlook.com. That's gutpunchedac@outlook.com. You know, resources are very important. Maybe you don't know how to connect. Well, we will continue to provide them to you. Reach out to the Dubin Center at thedubincenter.com. And here's one, Neuropsychiatric Research Center. Find them at www.nprc-southwestflorida.com. And you can check out the Alzheimer's Support Network at alzsupport.org/about-us. Little long, but it's easy. To find your local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, you can visit or call their toll-free hotline at 1-800-272-3900. That's 1-800-272-3900. Now, they have a resource called Dementia Care Navigation Service, powered by Ripple and the Alzheimer's Association. Caregivers and people living with Alzheimer's or other dementia can access personalized dementia care for free, including a dedicated care navigator and tailored resources. You can call 855-271-2662 to get connected. That's 855-271-2662. Take the first step and contact them. Check it out. We mention the guide frequently. It's another great resource and provides help and respite care. People are finding out about it and signing up. It's free. It's probably easier just to Google it, Edge it, or DuckDuckGo it. Or you can reach out to Dr. Perry's HealthSpan Partners website, which is https://healthspansouthwestflorida.com. And here's another one, Aquilane Clinical Research. You can find them at aqualaneresearch.com. We wanted to let you know we're adding more books to our resource page located on gutpunch.com. Now, if you have a favorite or two, let us know, and we'll share those with our listeners. And the email address is gutpunchac@outlook or jeff@gutpunch.com. And thank you to each and every one of you who has taken the time out of your busy and stressful day as a caregiver to listen to our podcast. We appreciate it immensely. It's what keeps us going. Thanks for joining us, and please come back again. God bless.
This has been Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, with your host, Jeff Edwards. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us on all the platforms, like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, Podbean, and more. If you have a question or want to get in touch with us, our email is gutpunchedac@outlook.com or jeff@gutpunched.com. Caregivers, you don't have to do this alone.